So much sadness welling up within myself. So much. There's a part of me that tells me that I should just grow up and become a boring normie who does work and has a serious career that he puts 80 hours of work into, and having all the traditional things you would expect from a successful business person out in the world, somebody aspiring to get there through highly values-driven business practices and ways of thinking, and that person wants to achieve so much because of the deep trauma that wells within his soul, because of the trauma of his childhood. This kid, my young self, he just... Sorry, the music's a little bit too troublesome for me right now. I really feel for the kid. In a sense, we all have inner memories of childhood that, let's say, ways of seeing ourselves that get passed down throughout the generations of our personal age. Like, how would I say it? Seeing yourself from 100 different snapshots. You, every year, a sort of save state in computer gaming terms, a save state of a person. When they're 20, they're like this. When they're 23, they're like that. And now at 27, I stand having achieved some things that not only I, but other people would consider success, like building this room. That I've poured 120 hours in, and I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed doing it. But also, there's a kind of sadness, like melancholy is a good way to phrase it. My own melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya, but for my own journey through teenage life. But in my case, knowing at the time that I was so, in a way, oppressed by the environment around me, the social environment, the physical, and also the physical, that I looked around, I saw that there was no one that could help me. Everyone was in their own dream, and therefore it was imperative on me to fix my situation, because everyone else in society had dropped the ball so badly in caring for me, and it sort of made me into a very early adult, you know? And I suppose that's why throughout my life I always made friends with people who are older than me. All, you know, even now, all the friends that I could name, 8 out of 10 of them are 65 or older. These are all my friends, and I have younger friends. I have people my age, but mentally, I've always seen myself as being far older than my peer group, and striving to gain the wisdom to be the shaman, the representative of spiritual matters, of ethics, of centering the community and helping to give them the will to carry out a moral and ethical mission that casts the society as a bastion of virtue, maybe. If anything, that's what I would say. Shamans, in a way, they served as a role. They served the role as a mentor in all of the soft aspects of life. Like, you could see a mammoth, you could see the rocks and the trees in the river 10,000 years ago, or 30,000, or 70,000 even, when people say that the advent of language came about, complex language. They say that life originates so callously. Very few people will themselves into being good parents for the next generation, whether it's their own or, just the kids down the street, or, the young apprentice. It doesn't even necessarily have to be about childhood. It's about taking after younger generations within the society than you. So if you're 70, in a sense, you're taking care of, or you're attempting to configure to take care of all of the previous, or all the anteceding, or is it descending, generations that are past you, which would mean, like, you, as a 70-year-old, you're taking care of the 50-year-olds who are getting close to the ending of their careers. And you've already gone through that, and therefore, even though the 50-year-old can't do that for the 70-year-old, but can go to a 30-year-old who's just trying to establish themselves in life and say, hey, yeah, I've been there before. Let me tell you what my journey was like. In that way, this is moral. This is an ethical framework that I think did exist quite well for previous generations before the advent of the Industrial Revolution, of which there were, some people say you can break it down into 4 over the last 300 years. And it's really cool to hypothesize new ones, but really this complete this shift in human psychology getting externally expressed as social familiarity relations between the individual and the wider society. These, what was I trying to say? So what was I trying to say? This is how my brain works. It works in very funny ways. But I'm basically following a needle going through thread, but there's like 5 or 6 or 7 different threads, and now I'm trying to go back in threading. Kind of like a Reddit thread. I'm just trying to go back in threading, say, where did I get that link from? Where did I get that link from? I got that link from that link from that link from that link. And then enough hyperlinks down, eventually I get to my original thought, and then I can proceed. And that's kind of how my, the computer architecture of my own brain works, and I find it cool. But what was I saying? Oh, see, this is where it would be really useful to have a chat. If I had a chat, I think the most magical thing that it would be a manifestation of individuals that wanted to help me by helping remember me and getting back on trains of thought, because I so often lose track of thought, and it's so frustrating. It's so unbelievably frustrating to be in a very I'm doing a 10,000 puzzle on the wall, and all of a sudden an earthquake happens and jiggles them all, and I have to start again, or they're broken up just a little bit, and I have to assemble just a few pieces to get the whole picture again. But that's kind of how my brain works, and it's and imagine each one of those puzzle pieces is like a essay, or a paragraph from an essay arguing one point, and then I have a counterpoint to that point. So it's the equivalent of two lawyers doing our philosophical arguments to each other. And that's how I construct logic in my brain, combined with visions from those paragraphs. So it's a really interesting sort of way that I think, and some people call it vision logic, but I just call it thinking from a deep place. But whether that's, there's to go even deeper, the fragments of those puzzle pieces come from data that I get from the wider world. This is why I'm very scientific, in the sense that I seek to gain data points from the materialistic world, and then pass them through. This is not very original thinking, but I'm still stressing that it creates what was I saying? See, this is my problem. Because if I had a chat and the chat told me, what did I say, 10 seconds ago or 30 seconds ago, there would be somebody who would be kind enough to tell me, and then I would get right back on track. And this is what the worst. It was the worst. But anyways, I will have to start another train of thought until I come up with that one. So I apologize to the people who were trying to listen to that one argument that I was trying to express. And I was going back and, oh yeah, that's right. See, now I jumped back on the thread. So it's the... Sorry, I forgot it again. Okay, keep it together. Keep it together. Okay. All right. Two lawyers, kind of arguing back and forth with themselves, but behind that, it's data points from the wider world. See, I got back on, and then these data points, I feed them back into what I would take my local data points from my own 5 senses, or 6 or 7 or 120, depending on how you define it. And then I would also consult my current society's form of a scientific peer group, which is the most respected individuals of the day, and see what they had thought to be most likely to be the most, I want to say something simple that's going to be flawed, but I'm just going to say it because it'll be interesting to point out the flaw of this, what I'm about to say, but at a later time. But what is it? The logic of I had the word too. That's what makes it so awful. Chat, my yam, my RAM is so puny in my brain. It's so puny. I'm running on like, I don't know what the equivalent of RAM would be. Maybe like a DDR1, 200 megabyte. Maybe it wasn't even 200 megabytes back then. Maybe it was like 50. Oh man, and I'm back. My microphone dropped. I'm feeling, I wish I had a more complex word, happy right now, because I'm becoming back in touch with the part of me that helped me become trans. I am I've known for far too long that I wish I was born a woman. My family called me metrosexual because I dressed so femininely, but in a heterosexual, feminine way. Because at the time I guess it was my own way of finding myself. It was falling in love with good dress suits that have flamboyant colors, and you do a tie really nicely, and every move, every step that you take, it's like with suave, it's with suave, just walking around with style, and doing it because you see all these people smiling, and it brightens their day. You can tell that you're helping in a small, minuscule way, but for that brief moment, for people who I suppose, some people are in not such a good headspace, so that might antagonize them, and they may take it a completely different way, which I apologize for if that was the intent. That wasn't the intention. It was me finding a niche within society that I sought ethical justification for, because I saw how it made people smile, and I connected that with me being a good person, being someone who brought value to the society back, even if it wasn't in monetary terms. It made me feel like there was a reason to wake up the next day, and This is the kind of thing that I wish for all of society, really. I just want it to be, part of a community. I just want it to be part of a community. And to you, whoever you are, if you read this, watched this, transcribed this, turned it into a Spotify rap, then you are worth it too. You're valuable. In the same way that maybe you don't feel like most of the time you're valuable to society, but that one time, I'm sure there was one time somewhere in your memories, you can find one time when you felt like you fit into a niche. You were like the swan of the group, or the woodpecker, or the duck, But you were, you fit into the ecosystem too, and there was a sort of harmony with it, and there was a sort of brilliance that Mother Nature had orchestrated. Your conglomeration of relationships in your community, and it built a constellation of trust between you and everyone around you that was sanctimonious. There are eras of history where there is trust within society, and those where there is not. We live in a sick society right now, full of so much Alexandrian behavior, in the sense of pursuit of truth, or not pursuit of truth. Rather, see, this is how deep it goes. It's not it's the scientific method is not about truth. It's about, and I don't mean to disparage it. I'm just describing its limitations. So just with that in mind, and I'm a deep believer in using science as a tool in order to understand our materialistic space. But it has limitations, one of which is that which Christopher Hitchens once said, I think, that which is proposed without evidence can be dismissed without evidence. And I thought that was a slam dunk for atheism. I thought it was that encapsulated my relationship with the cult that I grew in, the Jehovah's Witnesses, that it made me realize at the time when I heard that so many of these things in the Bible are not, they're not repeatable events that I can, measure for relationships between all the instances, and I can so few of what is described as spiritual can be falsifiable, and the unfalsifiability is what in a not to say cult-like way, but in a cultural, scientific, peer pressure sort of way, because all these scientists are simply trying to survive within their social group, because they egotistically identify as, hey, I'm a scientist. It would be extremely difficult to my ego if I didn't produce scientific ideas or do scientific work or say the right camp, the support of the camp, whatever team of culture these scientists are part of in a current cultural debate, that I have to produce the right type of work that appeals to society for my own survival in a job as a scientist, and then in the future, the breakdown of my ego as a scientist. And that would be extremely painful for most of these people. Therefore, they find ways of, how do you say it, subconsciously, promiscuously dancing with the falsehoods of their time. Not to say false isn't completely false, but false is in an incomplete answer. Science gives us incomplete answers. In one way, due to its binary. I'm struggling to encapsulate in words what argument I'm going through, but I'm basically going through a series of word pictures, like pictures that turn into words for me, and this is kind of what's been drawing my ability to just talk effortlessly. Not actually, I don't feel like I'm effortless right now. I feel like I'm like a 4 out of 10 on effortless. So, and I'm usually a 2 sober, but anyways, I've been at like 8. I've even think I've been at 10 once or twice, and maybe actually way more. Most people would think I would be at a 10 for half of my life, but just in terms of my own, this is Dunning-Kruger effect type stuff. This is like, I know enough about this that I'm actually quite sheepish about saying how much I know, and about scientific processes and all these kind of things. And also I feel like I've lost a lot of the lingo. It's rusted in my brain. It's like it's created a mental block between me and my ability to say things which I used to know. Maybe not know as in direct truth, or know as in direct experience, those two being different things, but indirect truths, indirect science, true as true as in coming from some guy that I read on on an academic paper, or maybe just some random person on Reddit, right? And therefore changing my worldview just slightly, but not in direct terms, through secondhand experience, which is not scientifically verifiable. It's not direct. It's not. I can't get to the root of the source of the matter, and it's check on its roots, because it just comes from some guy. Unless I'm gonna go on some like anime detective adventure. I'm like trying to figure out clues about like some guy on Reddit send me a text. Whoa, and then I go just find out as if you were that 4chan community that was like geolocating where this flag was, and then they found it just because they could tell of the cloud formation. That was pretty unreal. And anyways, if it was like that, I would greatly enjoy being more myself. I would love it. I know just how important it is. And I need to recalibrate. So many problems. All this technology is so prototypical right now. It's not seamless. Although every day I work hard in order to make it so. I worked a second job for a whole year, and that's not special in my life at all. In fact, most of the time it's like that. And I mean, we're talking about real second jobs too, but what even is real? But I had a vision. Oh yeah, calibrate. Something's wrong. Can you guess what it is? oh, 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 oh. This. Okay. Okay, it should be better. Now, I'm going to... Oh, okay, let me show you. Okay, I have a treadmill. See? But I can also use my joystick to walk. But also a treadmill. So like, here's my leg. Oops. Oh yeah, I have to calibrate that too. It's going in the opposite direction. Okay. Cool. So if I use this foot, if I use this foot, I can walk. And I can move my leg like this. Oh, that's kind of crazy. That's so crazy. It makes me feel like I'm really in here. And then this is my foot, my right foot. And I have one right here from my hips. And then there's a little thing I like to do where, let's see, I can use the joystick control. I can rotate it. I can rotate the Vive tracker just a little bit. And then I'll give it a little bit of a oof. A little bit of oof. 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 And I can do it on my own. Like, this is on my own. See? You can't see my hand. You're cranking the dial. Well, the only problem is the back support that I have. I'm going to open it up and figure out how to cushion it so that when I go up and down it doesn't have that sound, because the sound is annoying, you know. And also maybe the sound of the fan on the top of my head, maybe that's annoying too. I don't know. Yeah, I look around and I see what I see the how do you say it? No easy way to say it. The capitalist, the current neoliberal, to use a popular term, which probably will not be a popular term in the future, but a sort of neoliberal propaganda of what our current life right now is supposed to be like. But it's not. It's so clearly not. This is like presumably just something that some young kid gets, and he takes it for granted because, like, this is Mark Zuckerberg's kid. Mark Zuckerberg's kid gets this apartment. And that kid won't respect what he's been given because he didn't work for it. And not just work for it, but he didn't struggle for it. But also, this is also critical. It's not just about working hard. It's the fact that even if you do work hard within the social matrix that we've constructed in the 21st century, there's always going to be parts of the matrix much further away from you that that are far worse off than you, and the energy that you project within your own little bubble in the matrix will expand out and reverberate in positive or negative ways throughout the rest of society. And if you are importing all of this stuff, if you're, use a more concrete example, if you're buying a smartphone of the really high caliber, it's got gold transistors and sort of like boron, steel, all these kind of like, I should refresh myself on material science, but it will have, or a tungsten carbide, or just a tungsten carbide was what I was thinking of, because it's super strong steel, but anyways, so there's so many threads that I could go down right now that I would love to. I'm trying to stay on track for the good of everyone. So, it was about dang it. Okay, class, remind me what I'm talking about. I can't remember. Oh, okay. One of my eyes. Oh, so sleepy. Maybe if I adjust. Okay, I think. No, I need to recalibrate. Okay. I think that's better. I need to open up a window. It is sweating here.